I always say ice cream changed my life twice, once as a kid then, and now as an adult when I decided to leave my corporate career after 25 years. I said, I'm going to go follow my bliss and I'm going to make other people happy and myself happy and make ice cream. Nothing is built just from one person. Thankfully, I do have an amazing team. And as I've gotten bigger, I've been able to hire and bring on better, more higher quality folks. And then I started to see what we were doing like in the country for ice cream. And we started getting national recognition because it's so amazing. And then I started seeing what we were doing in St. Louis, and we were growing and opening shops and creating jobs. It just kind of took on a life of its own. There was never any intentionality around it until the last couple of years.
Can you give us a little background on how you grew up and where you grew up?
I was born in Denver, and we lived there till about the 5th grade. And then we moved to Southern California during the big recession in the early 80s. My dad was in construction, and so we moved where the jobs were. We went to Southern California, and I was raised there and lived there my whole life until 2008 when I was transferred out here as part of a corporate relocation when I worked for DuPont to St. Louis.
And when you were in Southern California, that's when you were kind of first introduced to ice cream. I know we're all introduced to ice cream at some point or another, but that's when it started to have a big impact on your life, correct? In terms of making ice cream?
Yeah, I think I was 7 or 8 years old. And one Sunday after church, I heard other little kids talking about going for ice cream. And of course, I ran up to my mother and I pulled on her dress and I said, hey, do we get to go for ice cream too? And the answer was no. And I was, of course, bummed out as every little kid is, right? Because they just know that they don't get to do something that other kids do. And I think the next Sunday after church, the same thing happened. And I ran up to her. I said, do we get to go for ice cream? And the answer was no. And I think as a kid, you don't know not to make your parents feel bad because you're poor, but you don't really understand that you're poor. And I come from a really large Irish Italian family, and we had a lot of mouths to feed. And so that just wasn't in the cards for us at that time in life. And so I think it was like mostly that summer that I was super persistent about, do we get it every Sunday? And my mom always said no. And one day we were driving home after church and we stopped at a garage sale because that's where we got our clothes and our shoes and whatever. And she found an old hand crank for $2. And so she bought it and she said, okay, we're going to go home and make ice cream. Go do your chores and change your clothes and come back here in an hour and we're going to make ice cream. So I was so excited. And we did. And we started making ice cream as a family after church every Sunday, kind of from that day forward. And so what was interesting about it in hindsight was, we had this really large family. My dad was always fixing something at the church. My mom was always cooking for the old people or doing something. And so our family was like really well loved, but we were kind of like that family that was over here on the side, right? Like lots of kids. I have 4 older brothers, parents, grandparents, right? Like no one's going to invite 8 or 9 people over for dinner on a Friday night, right? So we were kind of like that poor family that would, come home 2 days before Thanksgiving and people would leave groceries on our stoop, right? So we did a lot for people. We did a lot for the church, so well loved, but we weren't, I don't know, as a little kid, you're just like, oh, we're not popular. We don't have a lot of friends. We kind of just stuck to ourselves and because we were a small army. And what was pretty amazing thinking back was that when word got out in church that we were making ice cream, people wanted to start coming to our house for that, right? And so, of course, we couldn't afford to make ice cream for everybody, but one family would buy the milk, another family would bring the cream, and somebody else would bring the fruit. And so it like changed this whole dynamic or my sense of community as a kid, all from an ice cream cone, right?
That's an incredible story.
Yeah. And that always stuck with me, right? So like in my mind as a little kid growing up, ice cream changed my life. I went to having all these new friends and people came to my house. It was just such a different experience for me. And the only thing I could tie it to was the ice cream. And so that's been with me always, right? The power of ice cream and what it does for people. And it brings people together and it builds community. And you don't have to be wealthy, right? To take your kids for ice cream is this beautiful food and this beautiful experience that anyone can give anyone, right? I always say ice cream changed my life twice, once as a kid then, and now as an adult when I decided to leave my corporate career after 25 years. I said, I'm going to go follow my bliss and I'm going to make other people happy and myself happy and make ice cream.
Your corporate career, I'm assuming, was not with Dairy Queen or some other ice cream
No.
company maker. Okay.
No.
And what field were you in?
I was in marketing, brand, and strategy for 25 years. I ended up working in the food industry. I worked on the ingredient side of the business, and then I worked for big CPG. And I ran a $70 million business when I decided to walk away and go make ice cream and make no money.
Wow. That is, I think, a testament to, I think, your passion for entrepreneurship and, of course, ice cream.
Sure.
So the branding, marketing side plus the ice cream all came together and eventually became Clementine's.
Mm-hmm.
But when you first left your corporate job, how did you decide to even think of your first flavor or flavors? How did you start making your first flavors?
Well, I think because I've been making ice cream my whole life since I was a kid, right? We'd made it, my mom passed away when I was 21. And so when she passed away, I kind of took it over and it became my hobby and I just ran with it. And so it was just some part of me that I always loved doing, and that was making ice cream. And I think that, when I decided to do something on my own, I took my love of ice cream and my experience in the food industry and food science and marketing strategy brand, and I put it all together and I ran big business and I just built it. I just did it.
So from the first shop, the plan was always to have multiple shops. Is that correct?
No. I think I was that token female that was climbing the corporate ladder, right? In 2012, I traveled 262 days that year. It was absolutely crazy. And I think I was just so tired and I was so exhausted. And I woke up one day and I was like, wow, I'm 38 years old. I have no husband. I have no kids. I never see my family. I never see my friends. I'm living in this big house and I drive this big fancy car, which I never get to drive because I'm never home. Like, what am I doing? And I just said, I have to do something different. I want to own my own life again. I just felt like other people owned my life and I needed to take it back.
So going back to 2014 then, or skipping ahead a couple years, what did the first Clementine's location look like? How many flavors did you have out? Was it always naughty and nice, or did that come about after?
Yeah, it was pretty much naughty and nice from the beginning. I was looking to be different and have my own competitive differentiation, which we've got to have. And so I knew I wanted to do something different. I had just enough experience and food science background that exposure to different technologies and food that most people don't have. And so I was able to come up with our trade secret process for infusing the alcohol into the ice cream, hence the naughty ice cream. And then we created the vegan non-dairy, and we were some of the first people in the country to do vegan ice cream way back when. My idea was just to have this really cool little ice cream. It was very much a romantic notion. I was going to have this cute little ice cream shop in my neighborhood. I was going to eventually meet someone and settle down and get married and have a baby, a little girl, and raise her in the ice cream. I had this very romantic notion. And then, I kind of do what I do best, and I guess I just build brands and make good things. So that's just it really did evolve. I really had no intention to do what I'm doing now. I think I just created an amazing product and I was having so much fun, and I'm so passionate about ice cream and for what it does for people. And then I started to see what we were doing like in the country for ice cream, and we started getting national recognition because it's so amazing. And then I started seeing what we were doing in St. Louis, and we were growing and opening shops and creating jobs. It just kind of took on a life of its own. There was never any intentionality around it until the last couple of years.
I would say it definitely helps when you have an incredible product like you do.
Yeah.
My wife and I love Clementine's. I've
you.
texted you, I think, a picture or two
Yeah.
before. I love the ooey gooey butter cake. She loves the Italian butter cookie.
Yeah.
Actually, last weekend we went to your new shop in the Central West End, which the build out there is absolutely beautiful.
Isn't it
like
gorgeous?
They all are.
Thank you.
To come up with, the incredible unique flavors you have and then the unique build outs, it's of course intentional, like you're saying, but there's got to be something more there, in my opinion, because it's just so amazing. It's so unique. Is it all Tamara, or is it you plus like an amazing team you hired? Or
Yes.
What's the secret that you can at least, give
Yes.
to the viewers?
Nothing is built just from one person, right? Maybe in the beginning, and even in the beginning, you have help and you have support, right, in doing that. But no, I mean, thankfully, I do have an amazing team. And as I've gotten bigger, I've been able to hire and bring on better, more higher quality folks. And so that's been great. And so Clementine's today is definitely not what it once was, nor will it be the same in 10 years from now. Right. So, but yeah, it's all about the people, man. Like, I just provide the vision, right? And the guidance and leadership and inspiration. And I'm still responsible for my flavors. So I still keep that last piece of like, get in and get my hands dirty. But I know I've got a great group of people around me who are really bought into the Clementine's vision and what we're doing in St. Louis. So yeah.